Finding the right kick for your song or production can be a boring and a time-consuming task. And when you manage to find one, you still need to tweak it yourself. In today's video, I will show you how you can create your own using just stock plugins and the free synth called Tyrell N6. I will also create a more advanced kick using the synth Massive X. In any case, all of the steps and procedures are more or less the same, so you can replicate this on any other synth like Serum, for example. So, let's get creative. You need to imagine the sound of a kick in 3 layers. And the first layer is the sublayer, which goes until 100 Hz. Then the next layer is the middle layer, which is the thumb and also the body. And this goes from 100 Hz until approximately 3K, all the way up until here. And then after that, we have the tick. And the tick is the sound from 3 kHz and above. And the tick is responsible for your kick to cut through the mix nicely and also for it to translate well on small speakers. We're going to start off with the free synth called Tyrell N6. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make it into mono, because I don't want to have multiple sounds at the same time. I only want to have one kick drum at a time. I'm going to turn down oscillator number 2 because we only want one oscillator. And the next thing that I want to do, because it sounds like this now, which is like a sawtooth, that's not really a suitable source material for a kick drum. I want to have a sine wave. So that's what I switched it to now. The next thing that I want to do is I want to adjust the volume or the amp envelope. I'm going to lower down the sustain. And I'm going to tighten up the decay. Now we have more of a pluck going on. The next thing is I want to add some more attack. I'm going to do that by raising this pitch. And this envelope is going to pull down the pitch very fast. And that's going to create this attack-like sound. You'll see in a minute. I'm going to lower the sustain down of this one all the way down. And this is what it sounds like now. I already linked them together. You hear that? There we go. Okay, great. The next thing that I can do is I'm going to add a little bit of feedback to beef up the sound. Yeah, you hear it's getting fatter already, yeah? Now I want to automate the noise, the white noise, to go along with envelope number 2. Or actually, I want envelope number 2 to automate the noise. So I'm going to set it to listen to envelope number 2, and then I'm going to link it to the noise volume. You hear that? You just want it ever so slightly. That's it for now. Let's take a look at Massive X, and we're going to create the advanced kick and then use the advanced techniques on these stock plugins to further enhance the Tyrell #6 kick drum. Here I have a clean preset of Massive X. Switch the oscillator to a sine wave. Make it mono. And I want the oscillator to reset every time when I press the button, when I press a key. So that's going to create a very stable sound. That's the same every time. And I'm also going to be using noise generator number 2. So I want that one to be a one-shot, and you'll see why later. Now we have this sine wave sound, so I'm going to adjust the amp envelope, the volume envelope. And I'm going to tighten up the decay. Next thing that I want to do is I want to lower this 12 semitones to get a little bit more bass. There we go. And I'm going to use modulator number 2 to create that pitch slide that we also did with the Tyrell N6. But I'm going to be a bit more generous, so I'm going to put it until 32. tighten up the decay to create a nice sound. Now I'm going to add a touch of white noise, and it's going to be controlled by envelope number 2. Just a touch. The next thing that I'm going to add is I'm going to add a transient sound, more like a wood kind of sound. So I'm going to add a stick sound. It sounds like this. I'm going to lower the pitch. Yeah, there we go. And then it's going to be controlled by envelope number 2. Okay, I'm going to change the filter. This is like an analog filter. It has a lot more power. I'm going to put some gain on this filter, which will really beef up the sound. As you hear, a lot more volume, a lot stronger. Next stop is adding some distortion. I want to create a little bit of overtones, but not too much. This is way too much, so less blend and also less distortion. Okay, better. I'm going to add another distortion, but it's going to be very subtle. Again, very little. Maybe even less. There we go. And now I'm going to add an EQ to boost the high frequencies. And you can be generous. And also boost the low frequencies. I tightened up the decay a little bit more. Now it sounds like this. Now let's apply the same techniques to the Tyrell N6. I'm going to boost the lows with a stock EQ from Reaper, and you can be quite generous. I do it around the 100 Hz, and here I'm going to pull it down until like 3. And there we go. Okay, let's see what it sounds like now. Okay, now I'm going to add a compression. So there are 2 approaches that you can use with the compressor. Approach number 1 is that you can use it to beef up the sound. And the other approach is that you can use it to emphasize the attack. And I'm going to go for the beefing up the sound version. So I'm going to use a nice ratio, like 6:1, for example. And I'm not afraid to get some gain reduction, because anyway, we're going to compensate this. There we go. It pushes it forward a bit more. Now the next thing that I want to do is I want to add a free distortion, or actually drive plugin. And I only want to be using the wet sound. It's already doing something. I'm going to take out the filter, and now I'm going to add some drive. Yeah, there we go. But I don't want this much. I've written and produced a piano loop so that we can hear both kicks in a real life-like situation. Of course, the kick will be a little bit louder than it should be, but that's for the sake of comparison. Do you want to learn more about writing music and creative music theory? Then check out the playlist above or the one in the description. This was just a quick comparison, but can you hear how versatile these 2 kicks are and how different they are also? And the great thing is that you have all the control. You can change anything that you like, and you don't have to search for any sample banks. And do you have any production secrets that you want to share with us? Why not help us out and put them in the comments? And for now, see you next time.